13th meeting of finance to order. I would like it to go 6 minutes because personnel did twice in a row. But I don't think that's good.
It's a leadership thing, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So roll call. Alder Corpus Dax.
Present.
Alder Galvin.
Here.
Alder Johnson.
Here.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
Moved by Alder Johnson, second by Alder Corpus Dax. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alder Johnson, second by Alder Corpus Dax. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And we're on to regular business. Review, the first item is review the City of Green Bay's 1033 program inventory staff.
I can jump in. I believe Chief Smith is on the line. If not, Commander Warwick has been said that they would, on a quarterly basis, they would give us an update on this, on their 1033 program. So I'm not sure if you have questions or if the chief has anything he wants to offer up, but this is a quarterly update.
Okay, did we ask for a quarterly update? I'm just curious. I just don't remember. But
yes, ma'am, you did. The only thing that we're looking at right now are some riot shields. This would be a clear plexiglass shield that our officers would be able to use in the event of a riot type situation or crowd control type situation for their own protection. We found some on the military surplus. The cost would be just what it takes to get them shipped out here. Once they're delivered, we would again, run it by everybody here, but that's the only thing we're considering in the past couple weeks.
Chief, can you just explain to him again what the 1033?
Sure. The 1033 program basically is a program where we get military surplus equipment. For instance, we got an ice maker. We did get some rifles once upon a time for Lambeau Field that we're able to use for our weapons caches at Lambeau Field. We've gotten a vehicle, our high water rescue vehicle. We got through the 1033 program. There's a lot of things that are available out there. We've gotten some optics, some binoculars, things of that nature. But it was brought up a couple months ago that they wanted everything run through the city before we take ownership of it. So that's kind of what we're doing here. I haven't taken any ownership, anything. We have put in a request for those 20 plastic shields, plexiglass shields, but that's about it for us.
Alder Galvin.
Thank you, Chair. As I look at the items listed for 1033, it's a 2-page item. Some are highlighted in yellow and some are not. What does that indicate, the highlighted in yellow or not being highlighted?
No, I wish I had a copy of that with me. I don't. I believe some of those highlighted ones were sent back. Sometimes we get equipment, for instance, night vision goggles. We ordered a bunch of night vision goggles. They came in, they didn't contain the tubes, which is the vision goggle. So we had to send them all back. So that's what that would have been.
But that's it.
Anything in yellow we do not have anymore. That's correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
I think so.
Are there any items here that you would consider to be offensive as opposed to defensive type tools?
Sir, the only thing that I would consider would be the rifles that we received years and years ago through the military program. Agencies across the country received those AR-15 rifles. It was a modified M16 rifle so that you shoot standard. That's a standard urban police rifle that police officers by the hundreds of thousands have across the country. That's really the only other thing. Most of the rest of the stuff are optics, regular equipment, the vehicle that I mentioned. Sometimes we'll get dive suits, underwater dive suits, things of that nature. But we don't order military style equipment. We don't order automatic weapons, things of that nature.
All right, so there's no tanks, there's no machine guns, nothing to drop bombs or anything else like that in there, correct?
More like the ice maker and things like that. Sometimes we'll get a tools or something, but that's about it.
All right, so actually what this 1033 has done is saved the taxpayers literally thousands upon thousands of dollars of equipment that we would have bought anyway.
Absolutely right. Yep, and it's a great program for us. There's a lot of competition for the good things that are out there. For instance, we got a robot into a location with a smartphone or with some kind of optics. The robot will go up the stairs and it'll go in. It'll save our officers from having to go into possibly a dangerous situation.
So a lot of this equipment actually will save an officer's life or actually a civilian's life if we're using it in the right way to protect them or that they're in danger of.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic program from us, and I'm quite happy bringing anything that we want to pick or select in front of your committee. And if you give me the thumbs down, we just ship it back, and we only pay the cost of shipping on these items. So it's a really good deal for us. All right.
And these plastic shields, they're nothing but a defensive weapon to protect our officers from being struck at, say, issues like at the marathon, the disturbance, the riot at the marathon gas station when they were throwing objects at the officers, and all they had for protection were old bulletproof helmets that again came from the 1033 program.
Right. It's a perfect example, sir. Or it's a system designed to keep an officer from getting hit by something. In fact, one of our officers was hit by a brick. Had he had one of these shields, that probably wouldn't have happened.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief.
Other questions?
Motion to receive and place on file.
I have one statement, if I remember correctly, my 10 codes 1033 is emergency, right? Is that right? Chief,
But I don't know the 10 code as well as I have.
I was a police scout and I know of some of the codes. So yeah. All right. Motion to receive and place on file by Alder Johnson.
Second.
Second by Alder Galvin. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Chair,
Yes, you want.
this is Diana. Is this something you'd like to is this something you'd like to continue to see on a quarterly basis?
I have no need to see it, but I will ask the committee. Committee, is this something you'd like to see on a quarterly basis?
I think there was some concern, and that's why it came up as a quarterly item. There was some concern by constituents about the items that we were obtaining through 1033. And so they were concerned what we have and what we were getting. And I guess for the sake of being very open to the people that we represent, I have no problem with going over this once a quarter, and I promise I won't go into it like I did at the next quarter. I just want to get it out there. It's not what people think it is. I mean, I'm not comparing ourselves to what other departments have. I'm certainly not going down that road. But as far as the Green Bay Police Department is concerned, and we've never had the type of weapons or tools that people allege that all the departments have. And so if just for the sake of transparency, once a quarter, then it's out there for people to see, and they know that we're on the up and up.
Okay, I have no objection. Committee, are you guys okay with that? Okay, yeah, we'll continue. All right.
Thank you.
Going on to item number 2, and I see that like 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all from the CARES Route to Recovery Grant, but we should do each separately. Is that what you think, Diana?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so the first one is request for approval to purchase a Teams video integration system for the Green Bay Fire Department for a sum of $142,959.09 off of the University of Wisconsin System state contract using CARES Route to Recovery Grant. And we'll go to either Mike Hronik or Chief Litton, who would like to speak to that.
Actually, I think we might start with Calvin Winters, who is our procurement manager.
All right,
Yeah.
Calvin.
We'll start with him. He probably will direct it back to the director of IT, but I'm going to start with Calvin.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a project that was brought to me by IT and Fire Department. It is on a state of Wisconsin. It's on the university's program. So the University of Wisconsin, which it does not require us to go through a competitive process because that process is already done by the state. So we are just piggybacking off of these contracts.
Okay. And then what is this going to be used for then?
For that, I will defer to the fire chief and the IT director.
Ladorf, I have Assistant Chiefs Gibbons and Goplin on the line as well. I'm going to defer to them and let them answer.
Okay.
Hello. Essentially, the system is going to be used it connects all of our fire stations into one video conference training room, pretty much exactly like we're doing here. It also integrates into and connects us to the Emergency Operations Center for the county. It could link us to the police department. We use a system similar every day to do our morning briefings. And we also conduct almost all of our training, uses the system to some degree. Some of the stuff we have to do hands-on, but we do a lot of it via video conference using these systems. We've had a system like this for quite some time. Unfortunately, it's a proprietary system and it is at end of life. We're starting to see failure in many of the system components. And essentially, we either can't get the parts or they cost a ridiculous amount of money to replace them. And this actually uses more available and honestly less expensive technology, and it's time to replace the system anyway. So the fact that it is available to be replaced through the CARES Act, it keeps us separated during the times of COVID and allows for the ability to carry on the mission without the possibility any more than absolutely necessary of increasing the possibility of COVID transmission throughout our personnel. So that's primarily what it's used for.
Committee, any questions? Alder Johnson.
Yeah, so whoever's qualified to answer the question, feel free. So when we're looking at the CARES Route to Recovery grant, who can maybe explain for us a little bit about what that is? And is this allocated specifically to the fire department, or was this something that came to the city of Green Bay and then we allocated it out? How does that work?
I'll jump in and I'll start. The city of Green Bay was allocated just over $1.7 million from the state. It was a federal CARES Act that got allocated to the state. The state then turned around and allocated down to each municipality based on, I believe it was population. So we received just over 1.7 million. It cannot be used for replacement of lost revenue. It can only be used for expenditures related to COVID, not budgeted items, things that are related to COVID, things that are necessary to get through personal equipment. It did allow some overtime for COVID related activities. It allows us to cover anything to have our employees be able to telework, make sure that we are able to continue to function during this whole COVID time. Again, can't recover lost revenues. So in this case, these are some additional systems that are going to be able to allow our employees to better connect. As Rob had mentioned, this is also going to be able to keep social distancing and be able to continue to do their job. But so we have 1.7 million. We were allocated by the state. We have the deadline of using it up as of right now. Heard the deadline might change, but by November 6th, we have to use our allocation portion. We have till November 20th to basically submit our expenses and draw our money down. If we do not use it, the money gets allocated back, or really the state gets to take it back in, and they have till the end of the year to use any unused money by the municipalities. To date, we have done 2 drawdowns. We have drawn down slightly over $800,000 of over 1.7. And so there are quite a few programs, as you can see, 4 of the large ones are on this list that have already, none of these drawdowns have been, none of these expenses have been drawn down yet of that 1.7. Again, to date, we did about $800,000 worth of expenses, a lot of PPE, a lot of teleworking expenses. There was definitely some overtime. We actually extended it out to the water utility as they're being part of the city of Green Bay. They have drawn down about $200,000 worth of expenses out of that 800 we've already drawn. So it was really allocated within this within the city. Really what happened is the mayor and we had worked with them, let them know that if they had any projects they felt that would help them get through this COVID time, help their employees get better service for our constituents to be able to continue to do our work, that they should submit the program. Some cases it went to the mayor, sometimes it went to me. Certainly the IT director had a lot to do with a lot of these programs, because in most cases, a lot of it was teleworking. So, we would bounce it off our director of IT to see, can it be done? And is it something we want to move forward with it? We don't want to move forward with something that's going to not be a benefit in the future. But this is all to really get us through the COVID and really assist so our constituents continue to do our services to our constituents.
Alder Johnson, if I could add, this is a Microsoft 365 kind of cloud-based system. It'll allow interoperability not only with other agencies throughout the county and folks that we work with, but also will allow for remote learning for literally anybody that's a member of our department can remote into these facilities. We'll be replacing probably 20-year-old technology, old project stations that are barely readable or seeable at this point. As Chief Goplin said before, that is a proprietary system. It's end of life. We cannot get parts. What parts we can find are very, very expensive. And so this is going to allow us to take our training, our meetings, and into the next century, really, and should be technology that will be usable in the fire department. The police department's got an item coming right up behind this one on the same exact thing, for the next 15 years.
Okay, so Director Ellenbecker, when I had asked, CARES route to recovery, obviously I'm familiar with the CARES Act funding. This is basically part of that initial pool of CARES Act funding, and just internally we allocated it to these specific uses because they qualify. And it's my understanding that maybe there's been a little bit of a challenge to identify, some qualifying expenses that could be invested in the right period of time and meet all the guidelines that were set forth. So when I look at like this program compared to, I'm trying to think, I think it was around 600,000 maybe that was brought to the RDA in terms of some recommended buckets. Is this pool of funding different from that one?
Yes, this is a different 1.7. The 600,000, I think, had more strings attached for the RDA because that kind of came through it was HUD programmed. So there was more strings on that program, but that was a completely separate 600,000 from this 1.7 that we were allocated.
Okay. And that's really what I just wanted to do, is kind of connect the dots, make sure that everybody on the committee here understood where the money's coming from, what its qualified uses were. And so from our perspective as city staff, the installation of this equipment doesn't present any challenges in terms of a qualifying expenditure.
Not from the financial end, and then for install, that would be certainly Director Haranik. Him and his team have been working very diligent to try to get all these programs installed so that we can continue to be function, through the COVID and be able to wisely use these dollars.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Alder Johnson. Is there a second? A silent second by Alder Galvin, I saw before I heard Corpus Dex. So second by Alder Galvin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's look at
Thank you.
number 3. You're welcome. Request to purchase a Teams video integration system for Green Bay Police Department for a sum of $124,102, the University of Wisconsin System State Contract using CARES Route to Recovery grants. Are there any? I assume it's somewhat similar to what we just heard. Are there any further questions about this, or does any staff feel compelled to talk?
Just one question, Alder Dorf.
Yes, go ahead, Alder Johnson.
I think it was Chief Litton maybe that alluded to this, but either way, but I thought it was talked about that there's a full integration with all the different systems that exist out there. Is that something that's brand new that we've not previously had?
Yes, Alder Johnson, I believe that'd be the case, but I'm going to let Director Haranik, he's really the expert in his field. But yes, that is my understanding.
Yes, for the fire department, they had a proprietary system called Cisco Telepresence. They only had 8 licenses available, so they could only communicate with the 8 existing fire stations. Along the way, they purchased another license that got them connected to the EOC. But as far as communicating with other area fire stations, they could not. This system obviously it's a video web-based product, so it'll allow them to talk to as many other agencies as possible at one time. So, yeah.
I would add just both police and fire. So, it'll be an interagency operation with our police department, the sheriff, and all the other agencies within the county, and actually within the state.
Let the dogs out.
Sounded like a Dalmatian.
There's
All
a
right.
patrol officer over there. I think he had too many dogs.
Anybody
Yes.
want to move something here?
I just have one quick question.
Yes, Alder Galvin, go right ahead.
The fire will be able to communicate easier with each other so they can have joint trainings with not only themselves, but with other departments. And moving forward, let's go beyond COVID even. It saves us from having to send officers to different departments for trainings, and that they can literally just stay at our station. There's no travel time or anything else involved. Is that correct?
Who wants to answer that?
From the fire department's perspective, I can answer that. Yes, this would actually open the door to a lot more virtual training that, because our system was proprietary in the past, we maybe couldn't attend. We didn't have a way to log in. Now we would, with the caveat, of course, that not all training is offered virtually. So if there's the opportunity to take advantage of it, certainly this system would allow us to do that. And I honestly feel after this whole COVID thing, that's kind of going to be the wave of the future here, is that a lot more of it's going to be done virtually.
Okay.
I'd like to also add that we're adding Teams, Microsoft Teams, into the mix. So there's a lot of extra collaboration tools with that upper management and police and fire that are embracing. So I think we'll get an added value with that also.
Alder Galvin, if I can comment on that also.
Sure.
We found also during like the flooding events and things like that, where we were unable to communicate with different departments or even different municipalities as we were looking for mutual aid, or during the riots, it would be an easy way for us to have quick meetings if we needed to communicate with really all city departments and all surrounding fire departments, really anybody in the country, to have those meetings.
I would think during an emergency, having your command center set up with that would be a really good idea. You could communicate with everyone.
Absolutely. One of the things that this would allow us to do is we could actually use this to provide live video feed from an incident scene directly to an EOC or really anywhere else, a command post, things like that. And the technology's finally there, and this would definitely allow us to do that.
Would this allow us to do public announcements straight to, say, television stations and that, if we really needed to get stuff out right away in an emergency?
Mike?
We could just create a meeting and they could join the meeting and then just broadcast a video. I don't, that's kind of like what we're doing right now.
I know, Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see that not happening, not being able to happen.
And if I could jump in real quick, I think the training in the future is going to get more and more virtual. For instance, our command college, we typically would have to send officers for a year, 1 week a month for the command college down to Madison. It was travel days, it was hotels, it was per diem, and this will allow them to do that remotely here at the station. No travel days, no overnight hotels, none of the other expenses that we would incur. So I think it'll be a significant savings that way.
Okay.
I'll
Thank you.
entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Alder Corpus Dax, second by,
Johnson.
by Johnson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, let's go to request approval to purchase wireless network equipment for city buildings for the sum of $146,600.74 off of the University of Wisconsin System State Contract using CARES Route to Recovery Grant. Who'd like to talk about this?
I'll turn this one right over to Director Horanik.
Okay.
Okay, this replaces existing equipment in their training room. It adds some extra equipment into their classroom and into the chief's conference room. During training, they have to socially distance, so they need to expand the rooms that they occupy while they're training. So this allows them to broadcast their training over to the classroom and the other conference room. It has recording capability, similar to the fire department, which we didn't mention
Mike?
before. But
We approved the police one. We've actually moved on to the wireless network one.
oh, did we both do both? Sorry.
Yeah, we did. We did. I just
Okay.
wondered. Okay,
Okay, sorry.
good job.
I got that one.
All right.
Okay. This replaces our current wireless controller is around 10 years old. And then we also have a virtual module. What we're asking is to replace that aging equipment with new equipment and add more access points and allow greater social distancing within City Hall, the police department, and upgrade our exterior Wi-Fi access for those who hit those access points to upload data out in the field.
Okay, any questions, committee? Alder Johnson.
Director Horana, could you speak to, when I think about as we start to emerge from this pandemic, you know, I've talked to a number of alders and city staff as well who have indicated that, well, certainly there's the desire to do the in-person meetings when it's appropriate, but sometimes there's a nice convenience factor that comes on committees maybe that where you're not the member, but it's nice to call in. And or even for members of the public to be able to call in. Do you anticipate some type of hybrid system emerging from this? And can that be something that the CARES Act helps fund?
Well, I would assume that this would be the hybrid system. We currently have people at City Hall. I'm currently at City Hall. The people who run the meeting at City Hall. Aldermen could be at City Hall once we allow people to return to City Hall. And then that's up to, I think, you know, it was always been, you know, we kind of have had this capability for a while, and you could use the telephone before, just not come in person. But that has always been like a policy, I think, of the city that anybody who spoke at a public meeting had to be in attendance. You know, technologically, we can do this, you know, we've proven that. But I don't know what the policy will be.
I wonder, was it a policy or was it a practice? I mean, if it's policy, it's written down somewhere, right? But if it's practice, then that's just what we were used to doing. And maybe we need to create policy around it. I don't know if anybody even knows if there is a policy on that or whatever they would call it. I don't think law is here right now.
I think you're probably accurate with that statement.
And we don't necessarily need to go there yet, so much as I'm trying to figure out if, as we're making these technology investments, you know, is there anything additional that we need to make to allow that to be a possibility? But it sounds like what you're saying is that the technology is already there to make it possible. We just need to use it if we so choose.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
But Mike, I think you did say this will enhance the, going forward. Using these COVID dollars will make it much better so that if we need to continue to be socially distancing, that this will make it a better experience for both our alderpersons, for our employees. And so that's another reason why it's justified that this would be a COVID expense, is just because it's going to make it a better system and flow better as we continue to have potentially these hybrid meetings or all virtual for now.
Great.
All right. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alder Galvin, second by Alder Corpus Dax. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now, number 5, request to approve a contract with WisNet for redundant internet connection to St. Norbert College for a one-time cost of $54,219 with an annual maintenance cost of $4,356 using CARES Route to Recovery Grant, sole source attached. So why do we need an internet connection that's redundant to St. Norbert College?
We currently have one connection coming from the east side via UWGB, who connects to WisNet, and they are our internet service provider. WisNet also connects to St. Norbert on the west side, and we can get out to St. Norbert by splicing some of our fiber to Brown County, who currently has a connection out there for their redundant connection to the internet. We like to have a connection from the east side. If the east side or the west side gets cut, we can fail over to the other direction and still maintain internet connectivity. If people are working from home, they need to gain access to our servers here, and we have to provide, you know, a 24-hour coverage. And if we get a fiber cut, that could be a day possibly, and that's a lot of workers at home that are no longer on the internet or hitting the servers.
Good explanation. Any other questions, committee? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Approve?
Move to approve by Elder Johnson, second by Elder Corpus Dex. Oh, and then now I see a hand. Okay, just hold on for a minute. Alder Stoyer.
Thank you, Chair Dorf. I was just wondering, you know, we've talked about all these CARES costs or programs. I don't know if it was answered, and I don't know if I'm out of line here, but I just wanted to know if the other 900,000 that has not been spent yet, is there any issue that will not be spent by November 6th? I don't know if that was brought up or not.
No, I have not mentioned that, but to date, we already had $800,000 we have drawn down. As you, in front of you, you have another, this is 400,000+ has been spent here. We have a filter that's being added onto our HVAC at City Hall, not big dollars. We have a list of other programs. We have a running Excel spreadsheet. We do believe that we will be coming very close to the 117. And there are just recently in the last month or so, they did open up a little bit some of the expenditures that could be covered. And they are going to allow some additional overtime that was that our public safety had incurred. So in some cases, a lot of these programs were already pre-approved to start moving forward with, get quotes on, and that was on a list of, again, we've been tracking. It's been a running list of what we think has been approved, and we'll go toward that 1.7. So I do believe we're going to spend it all. And like I said, if after these programs all come in, there's still additional dollars that we will be able to recoup some of the overtime that was spent by public safety. So we believe that we will be spending the full 1.7 by the time the November 16th or the November 20th drawdown comes.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I needed. Thank you, Alder Dorf.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, request for approval to award a 3-year contract with 2 additional 1-year options for financial audit services to Baker Tilly, the highest scoring proposer, to RFP 3268 for a 5-year total of $280,300 for the city portion of the contract. Metro Transit and Water Utility will also consider Baker Tilly for their audit services. Yeah.
I can start. We just, every so often like always, we have to go out every couple of years for an RFP. And we just went out for our normal financial auditing services. And in this case, Baker Tilly came up as being the highest scorer. And so we are looking to switch our auditors going forward for the next year-end audit. Our procurement manager, Calvin Winters, is on the line if you have any questions on how we went about on the RFP. And if you have any questions, please share. But we went through the full RFP, and like I said, a different auditing firm came up on top as being the highest score.
Who was their former auditing firm?
Currently, they're CLA, but that was Schenck that was then merged together with CLA. So
that's right. Okay. Yes. All right. Are there any questions? Alder Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Correct me if I'm wrong, CLA is who we've had for how long?
Well, I'm not even sure I don't know if Calvin Winters would, our procurement manager would know that answer. I believe it's been 20+ years that we've had what was Schenck, and then now they have combined together with CLA. We've really only been working through CLA for the last year to 2 years. But again, we've had the same partner and basically the same group we had been working with what used to be Schenck. I believe it's been over 20+ years. I actually didn't look up how many years we've actually had them.
Okay. And so when I'm looking at, kind of the scoring, right, I'm seeing organizational capability, staff qualifications, proposal requirements. They've scored considerably less than Baker Tilly. And I'm just, at the end of the day, when I'm looking at a $34,000 difference. $34,000 is a fair amount of money. And especially at a time when we're trying to figure out within our overall budget how to save taxpayer dollars. And I'm trying to understand why they scored so poorly, or not poorly, but why they scored lower in those categories. To justify $34,000, why we should pay a $34,000 premium.
Right. As you know, this was an RFP, so of course it's a proposal. It doesn't have to be the lowest bid, but you're right. Those are all very good questions. The city of Green Bay has been experiencing not timeliness responses from our auditor, and this year was worse than normal. But whether or not that was, some of that was driven by COVID. We also had some same issues by transit and our water utility. We were all experiencing some customer service issues. And I don't want to say customer service, and now I'm probably, I maybe should let our procurement manager speak, but it was time to go back out, and that is why they scored a little bit lower, mostly for timely issues.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that with an RFP process, the evaluation team does not see the cost. So the costs were not.
Alvin, you have a really bad connection. Can you move closer or something?
Yeah, let me try something.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, much better.
Okay. So with an RFP process like this, the evaluators did not see the costs at all. So costs do not come into, don't come into play when the evaluators are evaluating the proposals. We want it to be solely on the content that the proposers put forth, because we're looking for something different than cost. We're looking for qualifications. We're looking for, an RFP can be used for if there's different ways to do things. So everything with an RFP is supposed to be based on qualifications. Now, price is a factor. As you can see, they are awarded points in some way, but it's not the driving factor like it would be with a bid where you take the lowest bidder. So that the cost in this was not part of the decision of why somebody scored the way they did. It was the content that was in their RFP along with historical performance, at least in the case of the one proposer.
Okay, and so I kind of picked on a comparison here in terms of our previous auditor, just because obviously you've got your relationship. I think it's a valid question to ask, but again, I appreciate that cost isn't the only factor. But when I look at the low bid on this, that's $144,000 difference compared to the one that we're recommending versus the low bid on this. And I don't know much about that accounting firm, but it seems to me that most accounting firms are equipped to do this. Otherwise you wouldn't bid on it. Is it really $144,000 difference? Is that
so? The driving factor in that lowest proposer is based out of Illinois. They actually specifically said that they are looking to branch out into Wisconsin, so they don't necessarily have any experience in Wisconsin performing audits. So that was a concern, and they were also a smaller firm. So there's concerns as to whether or not they would have the staffing levels to be able to do something such as a city the size of Green Bay.
Okay. Kerber Rose and Clifton Larson, though, certainly are capable of doing an audit for the size of the city, right?
Kerber, again, that is based on the discussion with the evaluation team. They, again, were somebody that, I think they're right on the cusp of being big enough, but there was still some concerns about the size and the staff that they would have available, given the amount of other municipalities that they are performing work for in addition to what they would have been doing for us. So that's another thing that comes into play is we ask them for a list of, other municipalities that they're working for. So that also comes into play to make sure that they are not becoming overworked and overloaded and can't perform and get us the reports in a timely manner.
Okay. And when I'm looking, and I'm trying to reconcile, I don't know if it's just a mistake or an oversight, but when I'm looking at the actual agenda item, it says a 5-year total, of $280,000. But when I look at the total 5-year cost on the RFP, it says $378,000.
That would be the total cost for the city, for water utility and Metro altogether. So you, as a council, are simply going to be voting on the city portion. The Water Commission and the Transit Commission will be voting on their portions.
Okay, so we're only voting on the 280, assuming we exercise those options.
Correct. Yeah, so it's a 3-year agreement with 2 1-year options. So this is initially approving the 3-year agreement.
Is this contract agreement contingent upon the other 2 entities also approving the proposal?
That is the plan right now, because if it wasn't awarded with all 3, there is the possibility that the pricing could change. Obviously, if that were to happen, we would bring that back. But I know that Water Commission did approve it this week.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? No, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Alder Galvin,
Second.
second by Alder Corpus Dax. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Did you say something, Alder Johnson? I didn't hear you.
I'm going to go with a no on this one. And it's not because I don't have faith in Baker Tilly. I'm worried about the bottom line. And I think there are other firms there that are capable of delivering the same product. So.
Okay.
3-1's not bad.
Okay. Motion carries. Back to the agenda. All right. Number 7. Resolution authorizing the 2020 transfer of $17,081.60 from contingency to fire new equipment account related to the replacement tornado siren on Lombardi at Lambeau, approved at Common Council on 8/18/2020. Is there any more discussion?
No, we've already approved this, so I'll make a motion to accept it.
Okay. Motion to accept by Alder Galvin.
Second.
Second by Alder Johnson.
I do have a question.
Yes, Alder Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Director Ellenbeck, at the balance in the contingency fund, I think it was $93,000. Does this 17 need to be reduced from that yet, or is that already accounted for?
Correct. Both the 17 and then number 8, which is also 4,500, both need to be removed from that account. So as of, those are both approved tonight, it will be down to $71,697.70.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, ready to vote on number 7? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 8. Resolution authorizing 2020 transfer of $4,542.70 from contingency to tax adjustment and accounts payable accounts related to the payment of the 2018 omitted real estate property tax for 2884 Sussex Road, approved at Common Council meeting on 1/14/2020.
So I do apologize. This one took a little while to come back. It kind of was an oversight, but if you remember, finance had a recommendation to have them pay it over a period of time. Council had decided that they were going to approve it. So this is really just the paperwork to get the resolution approved. So again, council already approved this. We at the time, because we didn't know this was going to get changed at council, we did not have the resolution we brought forward. This is really to clean up the paperwork and actually have the resolution so we can make the transfer.
Okay. I'll move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Johnson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Informational, we just heard a little bit about contingency, so we're now down to about 71,000. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. And the next finance committee meeting has a special name. It's called the Joint Personnel and Finance Committee, and we'll be reviewing the budget. It's at 3:00. I've sent out one reminder to all the alders. 3:00 on Monday, November 2nd, the night before the election. Yes, Alder Stoyer.
Thank you, Chair. As far as the contingency fund goes, I know we've talked about this in the past, and we're down to 71,000 after these bills. Diana, what is the most that we've had in our contingency fund over time? You know, since you've been here, what is the most that we've had?
Since I started and before I started, it was always about 110,000 is what was budgeted on an annual basis. Last year, we did increase it to 150,000, and that was approved in the 2020 budget. And then the 2021 budget, or that was 20, and in 2021, we have now put again 150,000 in there. So still relatively small compared to what is recommended you put in your contingency account. But we have gone from 110 to now 150,000 that's been budgeted in the last 2 years.
So I guess the question I had would follow up would be, what would be a comfortable number? I know the more the merrier, but is there a number that you would feel comfortable with moving with something like this? Or is that, you know, it could be any amount, you know, I know, but I'm just wondering if there was a number that you'd feel comfortable with if we had a little bit more.
You know what, I don't really have an answer for that. I guess the 150 I feel comfortable with because there's been many years that we haven't tapped the full 110 that was there. Right. However, we did improve it we did increase it for 2020 budget. And this year at this point, we do have one, I know you didn't ask the question, but we do have still some outstanding litigation that we do plan to use against it's a contingency. It was approved actually in 2019. Because we have some expenses that are coming in for fighting this litigation for personal property and real estate for like Georgia Pacific or any manufacturing that are questioning or challenging their assessments. And so in 2019, we did pay some expenditures out of contingency, and it was too late. We did not know about it. We were not able to put any money into the 2020 budget for it. So the expectation is we're still going to use contingency to help cover this litigation. They will be coming to you in the next, probably the next meeting. I believe we just got the bills on Thursday or Friday, so they're still being allocated. We're getting some taxing jurisdictions to be able to help pay for a portion of these litigation costs. So that is still going to be, some of that will be used out of the 71,000. So again, comfort level, I guess, because it's never been bigger. We've never had any projects that have come and wiped out the full amount that we have budgeted for. So, you know,
okay. I was just trying to get a feel for it. That's all. So I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So I will now entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Alder Galvin, second by Alder Johnson. Any discussion on that? All right. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned till Monday.